Welcome to the first video of the year. This is the beginning of the introductory unit. This is video number 1. I hope you have printed out a copy of the student notes where you just have to fill in the blanks and follow along with the video. If you have any questions about the video, we will talk about those questions and go over the information in class. So please be sure to write down any questions that you have. In this first video, we're going to learn about the root of our environmental problems, which includes population growth on the planet, money, and then we're going to learn the difference between environmental science and ecology. Both areas we will study during this year. Okay, first, exponential growth. The human population is experiencing exponential growth, and what that means is that it is growing faster at a faster and faster rate. The population size is increasing faster and faster all the time. For example, let's say I have a cat and my cat has 7 kittens, and each kitten has 7 kittens in 2 years. And in 2 years that becomes 49 kittens. In 3 years it becomes 350 kittens. In 7 years it becomes 500,000 cats. You can see over shorter and shorter time periods the number of cats gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Humans also reproduce exponentially. Currently, we're reproducing faster than we die off. Better technology, better medicine has us living longer. That's a good thing, but it's also leading to a larger population on the planet. This is another example. Let's take money for example. Let's say you're offered a job that pays either $100 a week or offers you 1 penny the first week, 2 pennies the second week, 4 pennies the third week, 8 pennies the fourth week, and so on. The number of pennies each week doubles. So it'd be 16 pennies the 5th week, and so on. You know you're only going to work 17 weeks. So which option should you take? If you take $100 a week, that earns you money in a linear fashion. You get $100 every week. The amount of money you have increases by the same amount over the same period of time. That's linear growth. You would earn $1,700. If you take the penny option, you wouldn't earn quite as much. You would earn $1,310.71 with the doubling of the pennies with each week over 17 weeks. Now consider if you just stayed a little bit longer, you stayed 3 weeks longer, which pay scale would you choose? Would you still choose the one that pays you $100 a week? If you take the $100 a week option for 20 weeks, 100 times 20, that would be $2,000. But if you take the pennies, just 3 weeks more, that doubling, that get more and more over that week's period of time, that increasing rate, would earn you $10,000, almost $500. That is an example of exponential growth. It grows faster and faster over periods of time. If you graph exponential growth, it should look like a J-shaped curve. This is an example of the world population over time from 1750 to 2050. What we have is the population growing slowly, like your pennies did in the last example, until it reaches a point where the population doubles faster and faster and faster, leading to that J-shaped curve. That is how our population is currently growing. It's increasing faster and faster, and by 2050, people who study populations predict that we'll reach between 9 billion and 10 billion people. Right now, there's about 7 billion people on the planet. Back in 1960, close to when I was born, there was only 3 billion people on the planet. So the number of people on the planet is growing at an alarming rate. If we look at the difference in population growth between different types of countries, developing countries and industrialized countries, we can see that in developing countries, that is where the largest amount of population growth is occurring. In industrialized, we also call those developed countries like the United States, population is growing, but not as fast. In developing countries, like most countries in Africa, that's where we see the most population growth. When we study population growth, we can determine how many years it's going to take for the population to double using the rule of 70. All you do is you take the number 70 and divide that by the percent population growth, and that will give you the number of years it's going to take for the population to double. If we have 70 divided by 1.25% population growth, that gives us about 55 years to double, just as an example. And we'll do more examples a little bit later on in the next video. All right, so population growth is one root cause of our environmental problems. More people on the planet means that we use more resources. It takes more land, that we have to cut down trees in order to grow food, in order to graze cattle. The more fossil fuels we need, the more places we need to live. So the growing population is having an effect on our environment. Also, money has a big effect on our environment. Despite an increase in wealth globally, 50% of the people on the planet are still living in poverty. They live on less than $3 a day. And those are primarily people in developing countries. Poverty affects the environment because impoverished people may degrade the soil, they may overuse it, the nutrients could be depleted, the soil could erode away because of over-farming in order to feed families. They degrade forests by cutting down the trees in order to have a farm or a place to live, and they degrade land to get other resources that they need to survive, and we'll study those throughout the year, those types of resources. If you're poor, it's really hard to be concerned about the environment when your survival and your children's survival is on the line. You really don't think about what is happening to the planet. It's all about choices. The life of my child, or cutting down more trees for cropland and for food. Do we think about the future, or do we think about the present? Exponential growth affects 5 key areas. Of course, exponential growth affects population growth, the population getting bigger and bigger over shorter and shorter periods of time. That population growth, exponential population growth, affects the resources we use and the amount of waste we produce and where we're going to put that waste. We're running out of room. Exponential growth affects poverty. The more people there are on the planet, the more impoverished many are. Exponential population growth affects the loss of biological diversity. We cut down forests, we ruin different ecosystems in order to obtain the resources we need, and many plants and animals become extinct as a result. Also, exponential growth affects global climate change. More people use more fossil fuels, putting greenhouse gases into the air. More people cut down forests for their homes, for their fuel wood, for cooking food, and those trees are important for removing those greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. So the more people there are on the planet, the more likely it is that we will suffer from global climate change. Last slide for this lecture, definitions that you need to know. First of all, the environment. Everything that affects a living organism is its environment. So take a minute to think about what is your environment. Everything that affects you. Your mom, your dad, your house, your cats, your dogs, the yard, your friends, school. All of those things are part of your environment. Now you need to know the difference between ecology and environmental science. We will study both ecology and environmental science in this course. Ecology is the study that explores the relationship between living things and their environment. So it's the study of, let's just take a squirrel for an example. It's a study of a squirrel, how it behaves, what it interacts with, how it uses its its resources, how its population grows, how the population declines, predator-prey relationships. All of those fall under ecology. Environmental science, on the other hand, is the study of how humans interact with the environment, how we use and how we manage our natural resources. And environmental science includes a lot of other sciences like physical science, the studies of rocks and minerals, chemistry, the study of different elements and how we use those elemental resources. Environmental science also brings in ecology, how we affect the ecology of the planet when we use and manage our natural resources. Social sciences, how cultures view the planet and our resources differently. And also ethical issues. Is it right or wrong to use or manage resources in a particular way? So today we learned about exponential growth. We learned about some economic issues, and we learned the difference between ecology and environmental science.